think you might be too old to start selling on Amazon? Perhaps you think you're too young. Does your family think that selling online would not be a good career choice? Maybe you have a well-paying corporate job, but you feel unfulfilled in life. Today, we're going to talk to a wide variety of people who at one point in time might be in the exact situation that you are in now. My name is Shivali Patel, and I'm a brand evangelist here at Helium 10. Last year around this time, we did a video that we called the Average Joe webinar, where we interviewed average Joes and average Sallys to talk about their journey to finding success on Amazon. This turned out to be one of our most popular webinars, and we received so many messages from people stating how refreshing it was to see and hear stories of regular people achieve success on Amazon. These are people who are not internet gurus, they don't have software to sell you, nor courses. Many of them you might not even have heard of because they come from different educational, cultural, and age backgrounds. Yet the one thing that they have in common is that they made the decision to use Amazon to help them find their financial goals, to help them reach their financial goals. This year, we're going to interview more average Joes and average Sallys in the hopes that we can again inspire you to take action like they have. With 2022 upon us, many are wanting to make new year, new you moves in their lives. So should selling on Amazon be one of those possible moves for you? Let's hear some stories from a few who have been in your shoes just a short time ago. Our director of training here at Helium 10, Bradley Sutton, has conducted some interviews that hopefully will get you motivated for 2022. Let's begin by addressing the A-word excuse: age. Some people think they're too old to learn how to sell on Amazon, while others think that they're too young. If that is you, these first two guests will hopefully change your mind.
Thanks, Shivali. It's very true. One of the, big excuses I hear out there sometimes is the age thing. All right. It goes both ways as well. There's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They think, I'm too old now to get started on Amazon. I can't do this. I can't teach an old dog new tricks. On the flip side, there's young people like, hey, I need to graduate college before I can think about e-commerce. I need to graduate high school before I can get into e-commerce. So what I've done is I've brought a couple of individuals that we've had on the podcast before. They're not average, but I call them average Joes because their origin stories are definitely average, as far as I'm sure a lot of you out there might be in a similar situation. Now, they're at the opposite end of the age spectrum. They're opposite ends of the world. Their connection to Amazon is completely different. The culture is different. However, they kind of are in the same situation now, as they're well embedded into the e-commerce world. So our first guest here is probably maybe one of the more familiar faces that we're going to have on today's video, because Paul has been on the podcast a couple of times. I've known him for a number of years now. Paul, it's great to have you back.
Hey, Bradley, great to be with you again.
All right, now, Paul, you're known for a number of different things, especially your prowess in licensing and bringing your Cozy Phone brand to Nickelodeon and things like that. But I want to go back in time, all right, before you even got into the Amazon world. I want to get into your backstory a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, you're in the military for a number of years, and then you got into the restaurant franchise business. Can you talk about that journey before you got into e-commerce, your origin story?
Sure, Bradley. Well, I know that I'm going to definitely date myself, but that's kind of the purpose of the show today. And to be honest, I'm not sure whether I should be insulted or grateful to be in the old guy category.
Now, hold on, Paul. Don't be putting words in my mouth here. I did not say you were an old guy.
I know that I'm on the old of the spectrum. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, Bradley, I was probably started out my career, graduating high school, maybe before you were born in 81.
Yeah, I was already around in 81, just a little bit out of diapers.
So you were around. So I went straight out of high school into the Marine Corps, where I spent 11 years in the Marine Corps. And honestly, I had this entrepreneurial drive the whole time I was in. I was always reading books on real estate and other business opportunities. The whole time I was in, I couldn't wait to get out and, start chomping at the bit to become an entrepreneur. When I first got out, I started working for a small entrepreneurial firm for a while, and then eventually opened my own video production company. where we were doing like military training videos and things like that. Eventually, I sold that company and decided that I want to try my hand in franchising instead of trying to build it from scratch. So I got into a pizza franchise called Cece's Pizza. I ran that for about 12 years. I had 3 stores in 3 different states that I operated. And around 2015, that business was struggling for a variety of factors. And I was looking for a new opportunity. And that's when I discovered Amazon.
That's a pretty long journey before you even got to Amazon. What about you guys out there? Did you go from one thing to the other, over a span of 20 to 30 years like Paul did? That might have got you thinking, hey, I don't think I can get into e-commerce. I've been doing something for a long time. Anyways, Paul, we're going to get back to you in a little bit. We're going to go up to the other end of the spectrum right now, as far as the age factor goes, on the other side of the world in Pakistan. And we're going to invite our next guest, Salman, up. He's so young, I'm not even sure his parents were alive in 1981 when Paul graduated high school. Salman, how old are you now?
I'm 17 now.
Okay, so 17 years old now. What about when you got into e-commerce? How old were you then?
I was 15 years old.
All right, now at the time you got started, I'm pretty sure that, like even if you wanted to, you couldn't sell on Amazon USA registering from Pakistan. It wasn't on the approved country list. It actually is now. Plus, it takes a lot of money to get started. So what was the path that you took?
So the route I took was I became a service provider. I became an Amazon VA before I could, invest my own money and risk it because being in Pakistan, we have to invest a lot of money into PL because Amazon is not in our state. We have to do FBA at all costs. So it was really very expensive ordering a huge amount of units from China, and the shipping rates, the product rates, they were really, really high. So we needed an investment of around $20,000 to $25,000, which I did not have at that time. So I became a VA instead, and I still am a VA, and I have my own Kindle launches on Amazon as well, but no product launches still.
So, here in the United States, like 15, 16 years old, if you're working, you're, maybe working at McDonald's or fast food or mowing lawns or things like that, probably making minimum wage. But in Pakistan, if you're 15, 16 years old and you're working, what's the typical job that you might be doing?
Someone my age does not work in Pakistan because the mindset over here is nowhere close to what it is in the USA. People over here think that our kids do not need to work until they are 25 or 20 or 28 or something, because over here there's only one provider for the family, and that is their fathers. Only they provide for their families. Even if they have 10 kids, even if they have 5 kids, they are the only one who provide for their families. That is the mindset over here. And it is still the mindset over here of people that they do not need to work until they're 25 or 28 or 30.
Wow. Okay. So not only did you have an age barrier, but you also had a cultural barrier, since it's, I didn't realize that in your country, usually the teenagers don't work in the family. It's actually the father or the husband is the principal breadwinner. Now we're going to get back to you in a little bit. Let's go back to Paul now for a couple seconds here. Now, Paul, without completely aging yourself, were you in your 40s or 50s when you made that switch from that restaurant world to Amazon?
So it was 2015 is when I started selling my first products on Amazon, and I would have been 54 at that time.
All right. Now, how did it feel, Paul? So long in the military, getting used to that, and then so long in the restaurant business, over a decade, going from managing Cece's Pizza to completely flipping the switch and going into e-commerce. I imagine that was kind of a scary transition.
Yeah, well, I had in the Cece's Pizza era, which was about 11 years, I had a total of 70 employees and about 10 different managers. And it was a wonderful time while it lasted, but the concept kind of suffered over time. And looking at Amazon was really a plan B for me. Hey, what am I going to do if this doesn't work out. And so it was really exciting. I'm a geek at heart. I was building my own computers in the mid 80s and, watched the birth of the internet. And so, man, putting together ways to make money and the internet together was fascinating for me.
I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's go ahead and switch back to Salman for a little bit now. Now, Salman, I remember your story about how you got started in e-commerce. Now, you were going through a tough time in your life. You're depressed, and your dad was getting upset that you were only watching Netflix right in your room and staying in your room all day. He told you to do something different. So you found a certain YouTube video, right?
So I found this YouTube channel where its title was "How I Make Money, How I Make a 100K Online." So I watched that video. It was about content writing. So it really motivated me. I thought that my English is good. I can write essays or articles or stories or books. So I entered into e-commerce via content writing. I wrote enormous articles. I wrote tons of articles for international forum. Its name was the Sun magazine. So I wrote around 2,000 articles for them in 2 months, and they did not accept a single one of them until they accepted one article, and the first payment of my entire life when I was 15 years old was 1,600 US dollars. So that was the point where I got even more motivated. And before entering into e-com, I was making around 500 to $600 every month. And when I came into e-commerce via enablers, I did their VA course, and the Amazon journey started from Feb 2020. I was learning Amazon by myself. Then I started the course in June 2020, and I got my first client in July 2020, even before my course ended.
All right. So for your agency, that you went ahead and started, what are some of the services that you guys offer?
We're offering 20 services like PL, wholesale, Kindle, Etsy, Walmart, eBay, and US company formations, LTD formations, and website development, software development, financial consultations, etc. So now my team is, I have 22 employees and working under me, and our revenue is about to cross 1.2 million within one financial year.
Wow, that's a lot of employees. Now, that 1 million, that's Pakistani rupees. About how much is that per month in US dollars?
That is around $6,900.
All right. So now you said, people your age don't usually work. So what about just the typical worker at all, like an adult, like in maybe a lower end office job? Like how much would they be making per month in Pakistan?
If you talk about beginner level jobs, they are like even lesser than $250. And even if you talk about high level jobs like a manager or someone or a general manager, he is making around $500 to $600, or you could say $1,000 if he is in a very big or international firm.
Wow. So that's like 5-10 times as much your agency is generating in revenue than the typical adult office worker in your country. That is impressive. So speaking of revenue, let's go ahead and switch back to Paul. So, fast forward all of what you had been talking about. Now you started selling on Amazon, middle of or around 2015 or so. What are you up to in what you've grossed as far as revenue goes? Are we talking 7 figures? Are we talking 8 figures? Roughly how much?
I think we're getting close to 20 million on Amazon now since I first started in 2015.
Wow, 20 million. So I think it's maybe safe to say that you do not regret making that decision to switch to e-commerce from the restaurant business, huh?
No, it was phenomenal, man. And, I remember going to SellerCon. I think you and I spent some time in SellerCon in Orlando. And after my talk down there, I had several old guys come up to me and say, Paul, we really appreciate, your perspective on this, because they were in my same shoes. And it's pretty scary to think about starting a whole new thing or starting over at 50 years old. And they were inspired, and I was happy to inspire them.
All right. I love it. I love it. Now, you know, like you said, you've talked to other people who are in your shoes, you know, they're at SellerCon. Now, what about somebody who might be watching this right now, who might have been in your shoes? Maybe they're in their 40s, maybe they're in their 50s, maybe they're in their 60s. They've been doing something else for a while. What would you tell them if maybe they're feeling a little bit hesitant to like think because of my age, you know, I don't know if I could do e-commerce? What would be your message to them?
You know what, Bradley, the other day, not the other day, but a couple of weeks ago, I was at AMZ Innovate in New York, and I was inspired by the couple sitting in front of me, looked like they were in their 70s. I thought, wow, when did these guys get started? So, you know, you set your own limitations, right? And it's a matter of what you can learn, really. It's all about learning. And, you know, and not to, you know, inhibit yourself by saying, well, I've got these habits or those habits. You know, you can learn. If you can learn, you can earn.
All right, Paul, thank you so much again for your words of wisdom here. You know, you're always a very inspiring story, you know, about your journey to e-commerce, and, you know, you show that really anything's possible regardless of your age. So we're definitely going to be following you as you continue on your journey, and thanks for coming on here.
Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so let's switch back to Salman now. Salman, you know, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Paul. You know, so maybe there's families out there who have, you know, teenage kids or young adults, and, you know, they're kind of hesitant to get started selling on Amazon, or they think that maybe they're too young to get started in e-commerce. What would be your message to those young people out there who might have been in your situation that you were a couple of years ago?
Basically, what I think is there is no age barrier. You can do whatever you want, even if you are very young or if you're very old. I've seen success stories of 60-year-old, 65-year-old, even the kid you met before a little time ago. He was publishing books on Kindle. He was 7 years old. So I don't think there is an age barrier at all. It's all about the mindset. We need to change our mindset. Our parents need to change their mindset, because what their mindset is our kids do not need to work at all, because we are the providers for our family, which I discussed before. So before changing the mindsets of the youngsters or the teenagers, we need to change the mindset of their parents.
Interesting. So you're not just talking to the young people out there, but also any parents who have, you know, teenagers or maybe early kids in their early 20s. You know, maybe think about what you're encouraging your kids to do or not do, as the case may be. Well, Salman, I would like to thank you too again for coming on here. Very inspiring to see how much you've accomplished at such a young age, and we're definitely going to be watching your journey as well. Let's go ahead and go back to Shivali.
Wow, how inspiring is that? Take that as you will, but I take that as, in the Amazon world, age is nothing but a number. Paul had been through 2 long careers that spanned decades, and yet into his 50s, he decided to make the shift to e-commerce. Whereas Salman had multiple things that were working against him: his age, and the fact that in his culture, usually kids his age do not work. Yet he didn't let that stop him. I'm equally as